very, very lovely to meet you, Ria, and lovely for you to invest your time with us today as we learn more about your leadership, your management of people, what you're seeing in terms of the future of our people in Trinidad and Tobago. And maybe we could just jump right in if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Okay, so I'll start by saying first and foremost, I'm a single mom of a 12-year-old daughter, and I have 2 house pets, a cat and a puppy. So that's my first responsibility. So at Fujitsu, my current role, well, for the last 5 years, I'm an engagement manager. So basically, I do IT consulting with my executive. So we run the consulting arm of the Caribbean business. And we particularly focus on organizations that are looking to move in the direction of digital transformation. Right? So we look at their operating models and we do designs for their enterprise architecture and stuff like that. I also do a lot of strategic work with our executive leadership team at the Caribbean. So while we look outwards, we are also looking inwards. Every year we would look at our own current operating model and if it aligns with our strategic plan. So I do a lot of work with them on that as well.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
So what is the size of your team?
So at present, I don't currently necessarily have oversight of people reporting into me in this role because it's a very dedicated role in terms of the consultancy, but I manage lots of teams as we go into different engagements, right? Yes, I manage different size of teams depending on the type of solution or consultancy engagement that we're pursuing.
Right. And what would you say is the kind of most rewarding part of what you do?
Definitely meeting customers' expectations and adding value, actually achieving the outputs and the outcomes of the engagement. And I think that's the best part of it for me. I mean, as you go through any type of project or any type of engagement, you will obviously meet challenges along the way. But the rewarding part is actually being able to overcome those hurdles, guide the teams through different types of brainstorming sessions and working through the issues. And my direct executive, what we've been talking about recently is the fact that we've seen how important stakeholder management is in the work that we do. Very, very critical. Internal and external, managing your stakeholders' expectations and working through and understanding their needs and meeting those needs and being flexible and agile is very critical to the work that we do. And we have very positive outcomes despite the challenges that come.
Wow. So let's just jump on that piece and that flexibility, that agility, because what we've seen specifically, even, I mean, we saw bits of it pre-COVID, pre-pandemic. I mean, we know the only constant is change. Now it's the pace of change, and speed is the new currency. And so that additional requirement, the stakeholder management, the communication plans, keeping everyone in the loop, because things are changing constantly.
Yes.
So are you seeing that as an additional requirement of how teams and individuals show up as something for us to be successful, would you say?
Yes, definitely, because I will tell you, during the COVID time when things first kicked off, lots of organizations had to move away from the traditional means of working and had to put in infrastructure and systems and tools for their staff to work from home. And Fujitsu, of course, were one of the organizations that we had to do it internally. And we also had to support a number of organizations through that process of making sure that they have platforms that are stable for their staff to work from home. So even now that most organizations are having their people transition back to the office, what we have done at Fujitsu is to actually develop what we call a hybrid model. So we have persons who work remotely permanently. I'm one of those persons. So I can work from anywhere of the world. Once I have a proper internet connection, I can function. right? So we have the permanent remote workers, we have the workers who have to be in office because of their roles and responsibilities. And then we also offer the flexibility for some persons who want to do both. So they can work from home at times and they can come into office when required.
Wow.
So we have allowed our staff that kind of flexibility, and that actually came out of a engagement survey. We do an internal engagement survey every year, right? It comes down from our Fujitsu North America organization. And they actually asked staff for feedback in terms of what will make you feel more comfortable, what will give you more of a work-life balance, what will help with your mental health issues, because we know everybody had mental health issues going through the COVID pandemic,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So yeah, we restructured the organization to have that flexibility for our own internal resources so that persons can work more comfortably and be more productive.
Wow.
And
that's great.
Yes, yeah, because I'll share my little personal bit on that. Because of working remotely, I'm able to get up and go to gym 5 o'clock every single morning, do my workout, get back home, feed my pets, get ready, and I'm at my desk at 8 o'clock working, and I can work until whatever time. When I'm done, up in bed.
Yeah.
So it's much, much easier.
Yes, and then you think about all the wasted time on traffic, and yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I totally understand, and I agree with you. We actually have that model as well. We have a hybrid model. So
That's
I know one of our team lives in the central area. Alana, been doing a lot of the scheduling with you. She doesn't need to be here.
Correct.
You know, and 2 hours of traffic. She has a young child. She can pick him up.
Yeah.
She can also save on the taxi fare.
Correct.
You know, so she's able to save money, and just it's just so much more convenient for her and for us as well. You know, so we gave up our office space. We actually are now have a much smaller office space because we do it in office. But again, it's I think it's so to your credit, I would say, well done for listening to your teams, well done for recognizing the importance of the mental health, and just again the use of the time, because we only have 24 hours in the day.
Correct. Yeah.
So in terms of challenges then, I mean, what would you say if you were to identify a few challenges that you still, because I mean, we can always get better, right? What would you say would be some of the challenges that you would have in your organization?
Well, we have, and I'll share, we do have a system that we recently implemented, maybe about 1 year, 2 years ago, where we wanted to be able to manage and account for our projects and the efforts that we put behind our projects, right? And the system is a bit tedious in terms of having our technical resources log their time, so that they have to get all their tasks out, go to clients, get their work done, and come in every day and log the time, right? So what we're able to do is on a weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual basis, we can look at what our planned effort was for each project that we do, and what was the actual effort, so that we could assess what it actually cost us to implement projects for clients, right? So that's our way of managing. And that feeds into our forecasting of our financials and all of that. So it's very critical for that information to go in to the system and go in on time, and the information to be vetted and accurate and approved. So there are a number of processes. And one of the key challenges we've been having was actually getting persons to put in their time, as simple as that. Log your time every day, right? And I'll tell you that we recently, was last year, I was given the task to do a strategic initiative to revamp our country dashboard process, right? And the logging of the time feeds into the information, the reports that are distributed every week for the dashboards for the 3 Caribbean territories. And that has been a major challenge because it directly affects the financials of the organization in terms of us being able to assess the profitability and stuff from the projects.
Of course.
Yeah.
Why do you think that's what do you think is stopping people? What's the issue?
One, I think people, I think it's a time scheduling challenge for some people. Not everybody is very time driven and very organized. Not all persons are able to manage their schedules properly. And I mean, everyday living, especially for persons, these technical people who have to be out on the road and actually go into clients. And then, of course, they have their personal lives, they have their children and responsibilities. I think it is just genuinely challenging for some persons, especially those who cannot manage their time well. So what we had to do, one of the key things we had to do was actually tie that to personal objectives, like performance, in terms of performance appraisals. So it's directly tied to your ability to meet your objectives and receive the necessary benefits as a result of that. So that's one of the key things. Yes, but one of the other things we had to do as well, I think for some persons, it's really a matter of ignorance. I don't think everybody connect the dots in terms of, if I don't log my time, what is the impact and implication of that to the organization? And as simple as it may seem to you and me, I don't think some people got that. So we did have to go through some awareness sessions as well.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes you have to go back to basics.
So it seems like you have to do, again, especially when there's a big transformation piece, like when there's something really different. You know, it sounds like you have to, I mean, like any organization, and by the way, that is what the best practice is showing, is that, you know, we have a tendency to do things one time, but especially when it's a new habit, a new behavior, we have to keep, you know, remember, people learn visual or audio, kinesthetic. So whether they see it, they hear it, they do it. Sometimes you need to repetition and reprogramming. And then what you also did was tie it into a carrot, or a stick, I guess it depends how you look at it, so that it becomes, you know, that kind of building that muscle around getting the thing done, attached the carrot or the stick. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I mean, so that's a new behavior. I mean, that is typical of, you know, a lot of new things.
Yeah.
There is, some people will jump on and get it done faster. Some obviously will lag, especially if the culture has not been that way.
Correct. Yeah.
So what I'm going to say then, Ria, is that you've actually, is a bit of a culture shift in your organization.
That was definitely a culture shift. Yes, because we had a system before, but it wasn't that stringent and tight. So yes, it was a major culture shift.
Right, and culture shifts, yes, it's a lot of transformational work that needs to be done, in my experience.
And again, stakeholder management again.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, so what I'm hearing you say is, I mean, so pretty much, I mean, you're finding that your teams and the people that you're working with are delivering exceptional results. I mean, are you all, I mean, feeling, I mean, if you were to do an engagement survey today, would you say that most of the persons in your organizations are doing more than is expected?
Yes, definitely. We have seen that in the results of our engagement surveys, that as a matter of fact, I think because of the work from home and hybrid, people are actually putting out more time because they're more comfortable. Yeah, so they spend a lot more hours working because they're home, or they have that flexibility to commute. So they're actually doing a lot more than when we were all physically in the office.
Wonderful. That is fantastic. So in terms of the future of our people then, and in terms of the types of training, and so you'll continue to do with your teams, and so what does that look like? So
what we have now, each of the teams, based on their specialized areas, each team manager is responsible for coming up with a training plan for their team, right? So you find that the technical persons, depending on their area of specialization, they will do a lot of certifications associated with their area. For example, people who are into the Azure cloud, they do lots of cloud training. The persons who are into Microsoft, they will do a lot of that. So it's based on the role. But apart from that, the organization does enforce mandatory training for the entire organization, and we get it throughout the year. I think probably we may get like 1 or 2 courses that we have to do, and we actually use LinkedIn as a key resource, LinkedIn training. Right. So we have been mandated to do lots of training on listening skills, negotiation skills, agile mindset. We've done stuff on the environment, for example, because Fujitsu North America is very big on environment and customer and those kind of things. So there are a number of different areas, and based also on the engagement survey, they also look for very critical areas for us to focus on and to do training. Yes.
So what would you say some of those for the future in terms of, what would you say that, I mean, obviously there's the technical pieces, which, I don't know, there's, as you said, those fancy names, but what about things like the regular in terms of sales or customer engagement, or, I mean, anything around those types of, do you do those types of things? Are you seeing a different type of training that's required, maybe in terms of understanding the Gen Zs, the millennials? Yes. I mean, what is
so based on the work we've been doing in terms of a bit of shift in our internal operating model, and we have revisited our sales organization and what the new structure should look like. We have an actual resource who is responsible for setting up those types of training, and she actually did a schedule of very specific sessions directed at sales. Yes, very, very targeted. It was quite a long list of targeted areas that we're looking at in terms of how we shift, and we want to focus on consultant sales. So the approach now is not about going out there to get a sale or going out there to get someone to buy your product or your service. The focus now is taking that consultant approach where we are actually going out to the customers, we're targeting specific customers, and we're trying to get in there and find out what is your need, what are your pain points, and that is where we're starting from. Not this is what we have to offer. We will tailor solutions to the customer's needs. So we look at their pain points, we look at their current model, their current structure, their strategic plan, and we get in there and actually brainstorm solutions and services that targets the pain points of the customers, so that we're actually offering something that adds value.
Okay, so you have a training program already?
Yes, we do.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yes, because
fantastic training as well. We do a sales training on very similar. Ours is called the single sales principle. So it's based on 16 words, which is that people buy when a compelling need is met by a credible solution.
Correct.
Matched by perceived value.
Okay. Then that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And yes, it totally ties in with what we are doing.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, because it's more of this, order taking and product pushing.
No.
Types of sales.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
So in terms of, the future of our people in Trinidad and Tobago, as we kind of wrap up and come to the end of our interview, what would you say that you'd be looking forward to in terms of your team, in terms of the people you have in front of you? You spoke about some of the opportunities to do training. What would you see as further areas of development that, maybe our audience here may not have been thinking out, or what do you see in terms of your experience would be really critical for the future of our people to focus on things of training and development and growth?
I think going in the direction of having an agile mindset. I think that is very, very critical at this time, because Agile does promote working in a more flexible area. And it is an iterative process where you do various iterations of a particular product or deployment until you get it right. So you catch on to errors and you can make changes with every iteration that you do. And you don't wait till the end of an implementation to then decide, oh, we have all these problems that we need to fix. So what we are pushing as our future, and I would encourage a lot of people to do, is to definitely get into, there's a lot of resources available on working agile, agile mindset, doing design thinking using an agile approach. I think is very critical, and it's very valuable to any organization. Very, very valuable.
Where do you currently do your training and development?
As I said, we use a lot of, typically now we use a lot of LinkedIn resources. We had various resources before, but within the last, I would say last year, they've seriously shifted to LinkedIn training. I think we have a special subscription for Fujitsu people to log into.
Excellent. I think
yes.
Microsoft bought LinkedIn, huh?
Yeah.
So that's probably
yes.
seeing a lot of that as well.
Yes. So yes, most of the training is done on LinkedIn. Yeah. So persons have that, again, they have that flexibility that they can go in and do their training on their own time. Right. And we also what we also do is set training objectives as part of our performance appraisal. So you are accountable to complete a certain amount of training programs by the end of our financial year. Right. So that's one way that we kind of enforce it and make it mandatory.
Wonderful. I love that. And that's why you've been able to get such fantastic results. So, you know, I'll just wrap up by saying, Ria, it's been such a pleasure to listen to you and to hear from you. And, you know, one of the things that I definitely took away from you is that you recognize that the process is constant and never ending. So you're very open to change and what is required. And I think that is something that can only support you to continue to have the successes that you've been able to have with your teams. So congratulations very much to you.
Thank you so much.
Your teams, okay?